Today's video, I wanted to take a look back at the year of 2021, and we're going to start with looking at the biggest Xbox drama moments of 2021 and auditing them to see what happened with each of the moments and like, are they still being perpetuated? Have they been corrected? What's going on with each? Let's get into it. So I think the first, and before I get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. The first one was the Xbox Live cost increase. Now, I'm going to do these off of memory to the best of my ability because, you know, these are vlogs and I don't like taking notes too much. But basically, you'll remember that Xbox Live was originally going to have a price increase, and there was this huge outcry about, no, that's bad, don't do that. And Xbox actually came out and said, okay, we're not going to do that. And they reverted the idea that they were going to increase the price of everything. And I think it was something where they were going to mingle Game Pass or whatever, but that was back in January of 2021. So I've seen a lot of people talk about that. And part of the reason I'm making this video is because people are like, well, why don't you ever talk about this thing or that thing? And I'm like, because it happened before I started making the videos. It's like a Sony thing comes up, like the Horizon Zero Dawn $10 thing. And they're like, well, why aren't you talking about this thing that happened in March? And I'm like, because it happened in March, dude. This is happening now. So I'm doing this audit video sort of so that I can address those people and be like, all right, here's me talking about all of the big drama moments throughout the year. In February, there were Xbox supply constraints and MLB The Show came to Xbox. I think that's largely just about Xboxes not being available, as has been a common issue with all console manufacturers. And everybody's like trying to figure out ways to address it. So it's not that strange that it happened. Strangely, the biggest controversy I could find for February was the fact that MLB The Show actually came to Xbox and ended up being like one of the best sellers on the Xbox platform. Not really a negative for Xbox. In March, there was the Bethesda Roundtable where they confirmed exclusives. And I would say March is about when the Outriders controversy started. So later on, People Can Fly said, so in March, we all knew Outriders was coming to Game Pass. I advise people spend $1, try out Outriders, and play it and see what you think of the game. And what happened? Outriders launched in a terrible state. It was eating people's inventory. It was crashing all the time. And even today, people are still having those issues. And that's actually why I still think that Game Pass is a great service, because you can play a game for a little bit. And if you're having problems with it, you can bail or whatever. Now, the Outriders controversy came in months later when Square Enix had not paid People Can Fly yet. And they said, hey, we haven't been paid our royalties yet. And a lot of people said, well, look, Game Pass is bad. See? Now, because that People Can Fly actually have no idea how well their games sold, or it seems like they don't even have any sort of idea about what the Game Pass deal was. I don't think that's pointing to Game Pass being bad. I think that's pointing to Square Enix being bad, because there are multiple instances where Square Enix has had this issue with other developers. So that's the latest update on the Outriders controversy. And yeah, I'm sure Outriders will eventually be profitable and People Can Fly will get their money, but something weird is going on with Square. In April. So in April, here's what happened in April. So basically, Xbox Live and Party Chat, they actually said, hey, we're going to eliminate the fact that you need those to play free-to-play games like Fortnite, like Apex. So that was actually a big win, but that was a big controversy that was resolved. And I realized I'm reading through these and I'm like, most of these are positive things for Xbox. But in May, one of the big ones that people always say, well, why don't you talk about Xbox DRM? I've made 2 videos about the Xbox DRM issue. And honestly, it's something that I do want them to address greatly. I want to ask Phil what their plan is about Xbox's DRM issue. Basically, if you don't have an internet connection, you can't use your Series X. Meanwhile, Phil has gone on record multiple times talking about game preservation and how important it is. Well, this DRM issue actually complicates that. So that was the big May audit. There has been no update on the DRM issue or any notes from Xbox about what they plan to do to address that issue. So that is one that is still lingering. In June, I actually had the opportunity to ask him about another thing. I should have asked him about DRM, but I forgot at that time. I did ask him about localization though, because people across the world have been asking Xbox to improve their localization techniques. So I asked Phil, I said, what are your plans? And he said, honestly, we have work there, but we have some things coming down the pipeline. No other updates since then, but that was definitely the June drama. I feel like during that interview, I tried to ask him about DRM and either he didn't respond about it or we just moved to the next question. I can't remember how that was handled, but yeah. If I had the chance, or if somebody at Xbox actually watches these for whatever reason and can DM me what is going on with DRM, yeah, they're probably going to be like, oh, we have to have it for these reasons, but it causes an issue with game preservation. So hopefully it can be addressed. So July is one that I just fundamentally disagree with. July was the Flight Simulator microtransaction drama. To me, this was a manufactured drama because I don't think people are being genuine. I think they were looking for an excuse to take a dig at Xbox. So what happened is Xbox has created a marketplace within Flight Simulator. I think Asobo, the people who made Flight Simulator, have one item for sale on there. They also let enthusiasts in the Flight Simulator community create things and sell them if they are approved creators on the marketplace. The same way Steam would let a creator create something and post it on the Steam marketplace. So Flight Simulator has this internal thing for the Flight Simulator community, and I'm sure there's some sort of rev share. I don't know what it is. I have to imagine it's 70-30 because that is the industry standard. So the drama was that Flight Simulator is filled with microtransactions, like $5,000 worth of microtransactions or something crazy that you could potentially buy. And the problem with that is nobody's going to buy all 5,000 of those. These are very specific mods that the community wanted, so they went out and made them. And for their work, the community's work, they get compensated. The community sets the prices of those mods. So the fact that it's $5,000, it's like a community thing. Everybody's sort of come to some sort of natural pricing agreement where they're like, well, okay, I spent this much work on it. Here's what I'm going to charge to recoup my development costs of the thing I chose to make for the game. This isn't Microsoft making anything. This isn't Asobo making anything. This is a community created thing. And personally, I have no issue with marketplaces like this. I think it's great that mod creators can create mods for games that they're passionate about and be fairly compensated for that work. I truly don't see an issue with this. It's not something that bothers me. And that's it. That's all I really have to say about it. So that was a piece of drama that a lot of people have asked me to address. And the reason I haven't really talked about it is because I don't see it as an issue at all. And the comparative statistic is when people point out, well, Sony's charging $10 more for upgrades like Rumble and such. Why don't you support that? Sony is posting record-breaking profits higher than like, I think they might be like breaking their own records and breaking industry records. But the point is they're posting record-breaking profits and people come out to defend the $10 additional fee. And it's just something that I understand why you don't mind paying the 10 extra dollars. It's not an industry standard that I think the thing that they're selling is, well, developers need that additional support. Do they? Because you're posting record-breaking profits. Even without that $10, you would still be posting record-breaking profits, record-breaking console sales, record-breaking everything. So it's just kind of like, I don't buy it. Like that's my 2 cents on it, right? We need to charge $10 more for games. Do you though? Because I see your earnings reports. You have to release them every quarter and you're making a ton of money. Like, yeah. So that's my 2 cents on it. Don't have an issue with people being paid for their creation in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think the argument that, oh, the 10 extra dollars goes to support developers, I think it goes to support Sony at the end of the day, and being able to implement that functionality, they make it sound like it's incredibly difficult or something, but I don't have that context, so I can't comment on that. August. People are like, well, why don't you talk about Halo not having co-op or Forge? I made 2 videos about it, and I don't like it. It actually has me more concerned than ever about the Halo franchise. I wasn't concerned when I saw Craig. I mean, a little bit when I saw Craig. I was more concerned when they said, we're not going to have co-op or Forge at launch, because co-op was promised multiple times by 343. Multiple times. And now, still, we know that it's going to take 3 months for co-op to be added to the game, and then 6 months for Forge. So that is an issue that I actually think should still be worrying to fans. Separately, another thing I made a video about, the $1,800 Unity issue. Now, here's what was actually said. Hey, this was actually somebody in my comments, I believe. Hey, I'm actually an indie dev. From my experience, it was easier to get into the ID at Xbox program than the other 2. This is just speculation on my part, and I set my account up years ago, so it may be different now. But a reason why Sony and Nintendo may cover the cost here versus Microsoft is that the other 2 companies make you go through more vetting. With Xbox, anyone can get themselves up as an ID partner without any real barriers. That's true. I can make an account today and easily get in. I wouldn't worry yet, as Microsoft treats even small developers like myself rather well, which has been actually verified via the PlayStation controversy, where a bunch of indie developers talked about their relationships with Xbox and largely had positive things to say about their level of communication. I don't see Microsoft letting an $1,800 fee stop a developer with a good game, but I can see why they wouldn't want to pay that fee for every team that won't ever release. So that's a good point from Joseph Reynolds. No other update really on the $1,800 Unity fee. But yeah, that was something that people asked me to talk about, and I actually made a video about it. I hope that Microsoft is able to work that out, and, you know, realizing that, yeah, anybody can make just whatever game, and you can still use the free student license if you just want to try that out and get your game published. Once you get to the point where you have to pay that $1,800 fee, maybe you can work out something with Xbox where they cover your development costs, because I know they have that with Game Pass and such. And that's one of the benefits to the program. Hey, we'll cover your upfront costs, and then we'll work out some sort of agreement from there. Legacy, people have asked me to talk about a few legacy things. So Microsoft at one point said, it sounds like during an interview, Phil Spencer said the Xbox One X would have VR, and then they backtracked. This was from 2016 and 2017. So in the CNET interview, the only quote was that he hadn't changed his stance, but there was not a direct quote where I could actually find out what he said specifically. So I don't know if that was like a misinterpretation by the interviewer or what. And I don't want to make excuses for them, but if they did backtrack on the VR thing, okay, they did. I don't care about VR. That's why I never made a video about it, because I don't like PlayStation VR. I highly doubt you're going to see me make a video about PlayStation VR. I don't like Xbox VR. I don't like any VR stuff. I think it's early. I think it's sort of cool, gimmicky to play once in a while. Like, I really like Beat Saber, but it's just not something that I talk about on this channel. So people are like, why don't you talk about how he backtracked? Okay. It sounds like Phil maybe backtracked on the VR thing. I don't really know what else to say about that. It's a thing that happened. I didn't know people even cared about that. It seems like people who don't own an Xbox really care about that news, and people who own an Xbox don't care. If you are an Xbox fan and you care about the VR thing, please comment on this video, and maybe I will make a VR video where I talk about it, because for me, I'm just like, okay, who cares about VR? I don't. What else we got here? Oh, and then like the resolution issues from 2014. Like, people really got to go to the well to find Xbox drama sometimes. And they're asking me, why didn't you talk about the 2014 resolution issues? Because I did. In 2014, I did, when the Xbox One launched. I've been doing Unlock for like a decade now. I hammered Xbox during the Xbox One era for their shortcomings, including the resolution issue. So yes, I have talked about those things. And anyway, that's my Xbox drama audit. That's everything that I can think of drama wise. Let me know if I missed anything. I guess the most recent would be the Redfall pre-alpha leaks that people say don't look good. I made a whole video about that where I say I am happy to see developers call this out as some shenanigans. So check that out if you want to know my stance. That is it for my take on the Xbox drama audit. Let me know what you think about all the drama. Is there anything lingering? I think the DRM thing lingering, and I would love to hear them comment on the Unity thing. Those are two that I would love to hear them comment on. They've made their stance clear on Halo, though. We'll see what happens in December. Let me know what you think. Hey, hit that subscribe button if you like these videos. Hit that bell. You're going to know when everyone goes live. If you want to become a member, memberships are turned on. Thank you so much to everybody who has become a member. I'm going to get out of here. See you next time, everybody.